a beautiful and amazing day to you. Thank you again for joining me on the program Love Language. My name is Abdul Gafar Arikiwuyo. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you. To all those of you following on YouTube, thank you. Please keep following and keep sharing the platform so everyone can benefit from some of the things that we talk about on the show. We ended last week on an interesting note, and I talked about love or loneliness. We tried as much as possible to identify difference between love and loneliness. When some of the things or some of the feelings you have, is it love or is it loneliness? Today I want to talk to you about attachment styles. And this will help you understand how your childhood still speaks in your relationship. And I hope that will resonate quite well with many of us who are listening on the show today. It will help us to understand how our childhood speaks about our relationship. So let's get started. Let us begin with a feeling many people know intimately, even if they have never been able to name it. There is a moment in relationships when you realize you are reacting more than you are choosing. A moment when your responses feel automatic, almost instinctive, as though something inside you has taken over. Your body responds before your mind can intervene. Your chest tightens before you have time to think. Your mood shifts before you understand why. A delayed reply feels like rejection. Closeness feels overwhelming. Distance feels unbearable, or at times strangely confronting. You find yourself reading into tone, timing, and silence. You reply conversations in your head. You monitor your own behavior, wondering whether you are asking for too much or not enough. And somewhere beneath all of that, a question begins to surface. Why do I reply like this? Why does it feel calm and steady for some people, yet activating and destabilizing for me? Why do I cling when I fear loss, withdraw when I feel exposed, or disappear when intimacy deepens? Why does closeness sometimes feel like safety and at other times like threat? Here is the truth most of us were never taught and rarely given language for. You do not enter relationships as a blank slate. You enter them carrying emotional memory, consciously or subconsciously. Long before you had words for love, before you understood relationships or commitment, your nervous system was learning. It learned how connection works by watching, by feeling, by adapting. It learned what to expect from closeness, what to fear from distance, and what to tolerate to remain connected. It learned whether affection was consistent or unpredictable, whether comfort was available or withheld, whether your needs were welcomed, minimized, or ignored. And that learning did not remain in childhood. It followed you to adulthood, into friendship where you either overextend or hold back, into romance where intimacy can feel intoxicating or terrifying, into marriage where old emotional patterns quietly resurface under pressure. So let me ask you something gently. I really don't need you to answer me aloud, but it's just a way of you reflecting. When love feels difficult, do you assume something is wrong with you, or do you pause long enough to ask where this response began? So this episode is about attachment styles, but more than that, it is about compassion. It's about shifting the question from what is wrong with me to what did I learn about love before I could choose otherwise? Because once you understand how your childhood still speaks into your relationships, something changes. You stop shaming yourself for reactions that once protected you. You stop labeling yourself as needy, cold, difficult, or broken. You begin to see patterns not as personal failures, but as adaptations. And from that place, understanding becomes possible, choice becomes possible, healing becomes imaginable. So stay with me. Don't begin to diagnose yourself now. Don't try to fix yourself, but just listen carefully, patiently to what your patterns have been trying to tell you long time ago. But before I do that, let me tell you a story quickly. I'll call him Ibrahim. On the surface, Ibrahim's life looked steady and well organized. He was confident in many areas of this world. Professionally, he was an accomplished and respected person. Socially, he moved with ease, holding conversations effortlessly and maintaining a wide circle of acquaintances. He could speak about emotions intelligently, using right words, offering insights, at least in theory. But when it comes to romantic relationships, something consistently went wrong. At the beginning, everything felt easy. Ibrahim was attentive, thoughtful, and present. He enjoyed closeness. He liked long conversations, shared laughter, and the sense of being connected to someone. In the early stages, partners often described him as a warm and emotionally aware person. Yet, as soon as a relationship moved from casual connections into emotional seriousness, something shifted. He became restless, irritable, uneasy in his own body. Small questions began to make him feel like demands. A partner asking for reassurance felt intrusive. Wanting regular communication felt excessive. Emotional needs that once seemed reasonable, began to register as pressure. Closeness no longer felt comforting. It felt confining, like a loss of freedom he could not quite explain. Without fully understanding why, Ibrahim often ended relationships abruptly. He would later describe his partners as too much or too needy, framing the breakup as an act of self-preservation. Yet, what followed surprised him every time. Instead of relief, he felt emptiness. Not the quiet pace of choosing solitude, not the freedom he thought he would reclaim, just emptiness. What confused him was this contradiction. He wanted intimacy, yet could not tolerate it when it arrived. He longed for connection, but recoiled from the very closeness he claimed to desire. Eventually, in therapy, Ibrahim began to speak about his childhood. He grew up in a home where emotions were rarely acknowledged. His physical needs were met. He was provided for. But emotional expression was subtle, restrained, and often discouraged. Independence was praised early, vulnerability quite dismissed. Strength meant coping alone. No one ever sat Ibrahim down and explained this lesson. It was never spoken aloud. And yet, he learned it clearly. Relying on others is unsafe. Needing too much invites disappointment. So when partners learnt in emotionally, his nervous system did not interpret that closeness as connection. It interpreted it as danger, as a loss of autonomy, as something that needed to be escaped before it became overwhelming. So ask yourself, gently and honestly, do you ever pull away just when someone starts to care deeply? Do you feel suffocated when someone wants emotional closeness, even if you once asked for it? Or do you feel anxious, unsettled, or preoccupied when distance appears? These reactions are not signs that you are incapable of love. They are not evidence that you are cold, difficult, or emotionally unavailable by choice. They are attachment responses. Their nervous system doing what it learned long ago to keep you safe, even when that protection no longer serves you. So, this is where we slow down and speak quite carefully. You cannot change what you do not understand. And many people spend years blaming themselves for patterns that actually began as protection. Attachment theory offers a language for that protection. It explains how early relationships, particularly with caregivers, your father, your mother, your nanny, uncle, auntie, guardian, anyone you stayed with, shape what you expect from love, what you fear in closeness, and what you tolerate to remain connected. These expectations settle into patterns known as attachment styles. I want to be clear. Attachment styles are not rigid categories that trap you. They are not personality labels meant to define you forever. They describe tendencies, emotional habits your nervous system learned in response to your earliest relational environment. So let's explore them with care and with compassion. The first one is the secure attachment, and this is when love feels safe, not uncertain. If your caregivers were mostly responsive, when I'm talking about caregivers, I mean your parents, your guardian, or anyone who you lived with as you grew up, if they were emotionally responsive, emotionally available, and consistent, your nervous system learns a foundational truth, and that is love is safe. Connection is reliable. Those were the things your nervous system would have learned. In that environment, you learned that expressing needs do not threaten the relationship. You could seek comfort and receive it. You could make mistakes and still feel loved. You could cry without being shamed for it. That early steadiness teaches the body to regulate itself rather than panic when closeness changes. As an adult, secure attachment often looks like this. You enjoy intimacy without losing yourself. You value independence without pushing people away. You can ask for reassurance without feeling weak. You can tolerate distance without catastrophizing. Secure attachment does not mean your childhood was perfect. It means it was good enough, consistent enough emotionally to teach you that you are worthy of care and that closeness does not require fear. So ask yourself, when things feel uncertain in love, do you become curious or do you become afraid? Let's take a look at the second one, which is the anxious attachment. In this case, love feels unstable, so you learn to chase. If you were inconsistent, sometimes warm, sometimes withdrawn, your nervous system learned to stay alert. Love became unpredictable. You may have experienced periods of affection followed by emotional absence. You may have felt you had to work harder to keep attention. You may have learned that connection can disappear without warning, so you must remain vigilant to prevent it. As an adult, anxious attachment would look like this. You crave closeness but fear abandonment. You overthink tone, timing, and silence. You seek reassurance, sometimes repeatedly, but reassurance never feels like enough. You feel destabilized by distance, even normal distance. You interpret lack of immediacy as lack of love. Underneath the behavior sits a nervous system message. Connection must be monitored to be maintained. Ask yourself, do you feel calm when someone loves you steadily? Or do you feel more alive when love feels uncertain? The third one is avoidant attachment. In this case, love feels demanding, so you learn to self-rely. If caregivers were emotionally distant, dismissive, or uncomfortable with emotional expressions, your nervous system learns a different truth, that needing others is risky. Perhaps you learned that emotions were inconvenient, that vulnerability invited criticism, that asking for comfort led to minimization. You are fine. Stop crying. Be strong. Over time, you adapted. You stopped reaching outward and began relying inward. As an adult, avoidant attachment often looks like this. You value independence intensely and equate it with safety. You downplay emotional needs, yours and others. You withdraw when intimacy deepens. You feel discomfort when partners want closeness, emotional discussion, or reassurance. You may appear calm on the outside while feeling overwhelmed internally. The message system is clear. Closeness threatens autonomy. Ask yourself, when someone wants to be close to you, do you feel cared for or controlled? And the fourth one is disorganized attachment. In this case, love feels like both comfort and threat for you. Disorganized attachment often develops when early caregiving environment contains both comfort and fear, often through trauma, instability, or unpredictability that is deeply frightening. In such environments, the child's nervous system receives mixed signals. Person I need for safety is also source of danger. This creates confusion. The body wants closeness but fears what closeness might bring. It craves attachment while preparing for harm. The result is often an internal push-pull dynamic. As an adult, disorganized attachment can look like this. You oscillate between craving intimacy and rejecting it. You seek closeness, then feel overwhelmed and pull away. You may experience intense relationships that swing between passion and rupture. You may distrust love even while desperately wanting it. The nervous system message becomes love equals uncertainty and uncertainty equals danger. Ask yourself, do you want love yet feel uneasy when it arrives? Which pattern feels familiar? Not in theory, but in your body. Not what you want to be, not what you tell people you are, but what happens inside you. When someone takes too long to reply, when someone gets emotionally close, when someone asks you to rely on them, when someone sets a boundary, or when someone becomes inconsistent. Attachment styles are not diagnoses, they are survival strategies. And here is a crucial point. You did not choose your attachment style. You adapted your environment. Understanding this shifts the conversation from blame to responsibility. So before we close, let's have a gentle charge. Allow your body to settle. Notice your breathing without trying to change it. Then take a slow breath in. Hold it briefly and then release it. This episode asks you to look backwards, not to remain here, but to understand what has been traveling with you all along. That kind of reflection that feels unsettling. It can stir memories, emotions, and realizations you may not have even expected. If you feel a little exposed or emotionally tender right now, that is not a sign that something has gone wrong. It is often a sign that something meaningful has been touched. So here is your affirmation. Say it slowly or simply let it land. You are not broken. You adapted, and adaptation can be unlearned. You adapted to what was available. You learned how to stay connected, how to survive emotionally, how to protect yourself when love felt uncertain or overwhelming. Those adaptations made sense at that time. They were intelligent responses to your environment. But what they once protected in you may now be limiting you. And recognizing that is not failure, it is growth. So here is what you need to reflect on. Your attachment style is not your destiny. It's a story your nervous system learned before you had words. And like all learned stories, it can be reversed. Not erased, not denied, but understood and softened. You are not condemned to repeat the same emotional patterns forever. You are allowed to evolve beyond them. Now here is your younger challenge for the week, and it's intentionally simple. Notice your reactions in moments of closeness or distance. When someone leans in emotionally, notice what happens in your body. When someone pulls away, notice what thoughts and sensations arise. Do not rush to explain them. Do not judge them. Do not label them as good or bad. Just name them. This is anxiety. This is withdrawal. This is fear. This is the urge to disappear. And then ask yourself gently and without accusation, what is this response protecting me from? Is it protecting you from rejection, from being disappointed, from being disappointed, from feeling too much, from needing someone? Healing does not erase the past. It does not pretend childhood did not matter. It does not demand that you suddenly became someone else. Healing gives you something quieter but more powerful. It gives you a choice in the present, a choice to pause instead of react, a choice to communicate instead of withdraw, a choice to stay present instead of repeating what feels familiar. And that choice, repeated over time, changes more than you might expect. So, As you move forward from this episode, be patient with your